Some seasons, unfortunately, have so many good titles in it that certain titles, while not doing anything wrong, tend to get overlooked just because of how packed the season is. And I think Rumble Garanndoll is going to be one of those shows that unfortunately gets overlooked despite it having some good aspects to it. But this is my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Gyakuten Sekai no Denchi Shoujo, or again, Rumble Garanndoll. So let's jump right into it. Rumble Garanndoll opens up in a Japan where it seems like a catastrophe has kind of reshaped how things are run. Focus centers in on this fantasy country where essentially this true army has made its focus to essentially control the citizens of this area. And it seems like their control is by removing most entertainment. It even has in the opening sequence a otaku is being arrested because he has a CD of an eroge game. Well, Hosamichi is still trying to get by day as he's working at a host club. It's one of the only remaining host clubs in this area. It seems like, obviously, again, things like this aren't really allowed in the area. And it goes out of its way to kind of focus on the fact that Hosamichi is really good at empty gestures. He takes off his glasses and he works at this host club, and he's really good at kind of swooning women. And at some point, we jump to the True Army. They're making a broadcast talking about how they discovered this eroge game that somebody was carrying has some secret code in it for a rebellion. And they're looking to basically cleanse this entire area because they feel like this resistance is within this area. And obviously, Hosamichi being in this area gets caught up in it. Hosamichi finds himself in front of 2 soldier robots, and thankfully, for his sake, a Shark 1, this other robot, shows up and takes him out, but then runs out of energy and falls over. Well, the cockpit of this Shark 1 opens up, and Hosamichi climbs in it to try to figure out if he can control the thing and get out of there, and he's met by Rin, a battery girl who's actually inside this robot as well. And this battery girl is like the energy of the machine, and what we find out shortly after is that she's powered by passion, and this passion is triggered and restored when Hosamichi's phone goes off, and it has the introduction of an old anime series called Zabern. And using this burst of energy, both Hosamichi and her end up taking out the enemy and then flee on the back of a truck being driven by Yamada, who is the leader of this resistance group. And yes, as you would guess it, their home base is in Akihabara. The deserted Akihabara, which obviously is full of entertainment and is really abandoned at this point because of the change of rule. Well, the leadership here sees a lot of potential in Hosamichi, obviously, because the 2 of them, Rin and Hosamichi, were able to work together and fight. So they're really hoping that Hosamichi will join the resistance and pilot alongside this battery girl. But being that he's older, yes, he did have a childhood, as you kind of get the idea based on him having this ringtone for this old anime series. He used to have a passion for these old shows, and he's kind of left him behind as he's grown up. Well, it seems like the show's really hitting on the idea of kind of being reintroduced to that old passion, that old childhood passion of those old anime, the old idea of heroes and fighting back against the bad villains, in order to restore energy into the system that you basically use to fight back. And while Hosamichi doesn't really want to have anything to do with this, he owes the guy some money. And this guy that he owes money to came with him and is now forcing him to essentially work for this organization so that the organization pays him and thus pays this money shark. And as we get into the further episodes, you essentially have Hosamichi pretending like he wants to work alongside Rin, basically manipulating her emotions in order to get her to work with him, though she kind of sees through it, and the 2 of them aren't able to work together. But eventually, as they kind of have some conversations, Hosamichi's kind of reintroduced into his old passion of his childhood dreams of heroes and fighting villains, and this old anime, Zabern, and all that kind of stuff, to eventually come to a point where him and Rin are now in sync, sort of, and are now fighting back against this true army. So yeah, my thoughts on the series so far. I mean, first of all, visually, I like the character designs. And it's so funny because I watched this show and I was like, is this going to be one of those shows where I only watch it because I like the character designs? And sure enough, I totally forgot that this is being done by, the character designs are being done by Akio Watanabe. Of course, Akio Watanabe has done like the Monogatari series, Etatama. Here recently, Higurashi knew. Akio Watanabe just knows how to create characters that look really good, and definitely pulling it off here. Outside of that, everything else looks good. The CGI for the mechas, I think the mechas are the most difficult part about this entire show, because I know it's trying to go for a very lighthearted mecha. even though it does have some adult theme in there. It technically is kind of going for that gray area between adult and children's entertainment because the mecha designs are very Samurai Pizza Cat. They look like Samurai Pizza Cat characters, very kind of goofy looking cat mecha chibi things. Again, the mecha that they ride is called Shark 1. It's like a shark. Doesn't really look like a shark, but it has shark attacks. So I know it's like you definitely can't take this show seriously. It definitely is going for the whole theme of the show itself is about passion and your childhood dreams and re-tapping into your childhood and your childhood imagination and how that passion for what has been lost because this world is being overtaken and all entertainment's being removed, trying to re-spark that old passion for those old things that they used to enjoy in this world that they no longer can, and using that passion to fight against the enemy. Playing heavily on that strong arm and removing that aspect from the world, despite the fact that you see certain characters like Hayate, who is like the first person they fought, definitely has that in her. You at some point, she does acknowledge the fact that she remembers certain things from her childhood. So despite moments where it feels like the show is getting more adult, it still has that childhoodness in it. And even all the people that work in the resistance group are all very animated characters. I mean, their leader is a dude that walks around in a fish outfit. And then his second in command, Yamada, he looks like he's straight out of Gurren Lagann. He's got the big, huge glasses, the crazy hair. I literally think he just pulled straight out of it, which is probably reference. Again, I think characters like Rin are definitely a driving force for me to continue watching the show. I think she's absolutely funny and cute. I love how she reacts to things. I mean, the moment he first gets in the cockpit, she's like, oh, somebody's jumped in the cockpit and controlling things. This is exciting. And then she's like mad about it because he's touching things. She's a dork, but she's also got a very cute side, a side that really does have a passion for something. At some point, they point out the fact that she's wearing this outfit and it's obviously crucial. And then like, no, that's just a cosplay. She likes to cosplay and she freaks out about it. They have this moment where she's fighting and she's losing and Hosamichi shows up and he's trying to tell her something. And this other person gets on the speaker to talk to Hayate, who's beating her, and she says something like, you should wait because they're having a talk between a man and a woman, and then Hayate's like freaking out about that, like, oh okay, man and woman, well, yeah, I'll honor that. It's got a lot of goofiness in here, and I don't think it's really trying to take itself seriously. But at the same time, that's an aspect that I think is going to pull the show down a lot. Yes, you can find a lot of entertainment around regaining passion, but other than that, it doesn't really have too much to offer. It's going to be one of those shows that I think it just gets overlooked for the season because there's so many other great shows in the season that are really going to overshadow it. In the next episode, it looks like they're going to be introducing the second battery girl, which is Yuki, and she looks to be an idol character. I'm curious to see if that will add a little bit of chemistry to the show as well. They also have this other one, which I'm assuming is a battery as well. Her name is Misa. She's more of a younger looking type, more of a computer geek looking girl. So I'll be interested to see what kind of chemistry they can inject in the show. Because obviously, like I said, Ren is cute, but I'm curious to see how they can change that chemistry going forward. I'll definitely keep an eye on this show as it goes on. It's an original that always piques my interest. And like I said, I think it's going to get heavily overlooked just because there's so many good offerings this season. And this one doesn't necessarily have anything unique that it's adding to the season. So I'll keep you guys posted if anything really jumps out at me as I go along. But I hope you guys enjoyed this impression. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know if you're going to check out the series either way. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon or the tip button in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.